Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you very much for joining me on this latest video cast. It's a fourth attempt, or third or fourth attempt. It's a fourth on this particular video, as I mentioned on the post the other night there, the other night there it was. That it's just, I mean, it's just like I say, this happened at the beginning where it used to take a wee while for them to load up. After a while, it just started to go really quickly. But I'm not sure what's going on. Like, it is an absolute nightmare. And what I have to do when I'm not even uploading a video just to get it to upload, I need to actually leave the app open while it's uploading and see if I just close the screensaver down just so that the phone doesn't get warm. When I open it back up to check the progress of it, that what it does is it just restarts the app, and as soon as the app restarts, that's it. It's an absolute nightmare, honestly. But I mean, I'll get it uploaded. It's happened before, and I've gotten through it. So here's hoping we'll get this one uploaded. I think the last one I was going to upload last night was probably going to upload, but there's a couple of things that I'd missed out once again. So I decided just to scrap it and go for it again. But I mean, I don't even know if it would upload anyway. So that's why I've done that. And I just want to say thanks to everyone who continues to like, share, and subscribe. In the comments as well. I try and respond to as many as I can. Obviously recently I've not been able to do that, so I do apologise, but I'll hopefully be able to get back to a few over the weekend. So this next video is, like I say, it's a couple of weeks late this. I wanted to kind of do it when the tragedy had taken place. Unfortunately I couldn't do that, like, but I'm glad I didn't, because it's there's been a few things have came out over the course of that couple of weeks that's been rather interesting, shall I say. And I've got the title here as "What Happened to the British Bill Gates," because that's what people in Britain, and certainly in Britain, call Mike Lynch. But from the research that I've done, I think it's unfair to say that he's in the same category as Bill Gates, or even anything like Bill Gates, because Bill Gates is a psychopath who is looking to kill people. Mike Lynch, by all reports, his neighbours, his colleagues, his friends, he was a decent, down-to-earth guy. He had a heart, he had integrity by all reports, and he certainly didn't try and blind anyone with his intelligence. In fact, I heard one of his neighbours saying that if you didn't know who he was, you wouldn't realise that he was a successful billionaire and as intelligent he was, because he was so down-to-earth. So to say that he's Bill Gates in Britain is maybe a bit unfair. I mean, but there will be people in Bill Gates' life that will be saying he's a philanthropist and he's doing all this charity work. And granted, I've done more research on Bill Gates than I have on Mike Lynch, but Mike Lynch isn't here anymore. Bill Gates is. And then when you look at the background of this story, you have to wonder, and that's why I've titled it, is it a tragic coincidence or a conspiracy? And once you obviously hear what I've put together here, you can obviously make your own decision on that, or perhaps you won't need to do that, because I think it's pretty obvious what's happened here. But I'm still going to go through it and connect a couple of dots because of who he was involved with. So Mike Lynch was the son, I think they were Irish immigrants. His father was Irish, and he grew up in Essex, I think it was in Chelmsford. He was a very intelligent man, or kid, and he got scholarship to a private school when he was 11. He rose through the ranks. When he left school, he obviously got his PhD, etc, etc, and he went on and started designing. It's something to do with computers. Like, I don't know the terminology, but what I did find out was that he actually designed some systems for the Atari back in 1990, because in 1988 he had secured a £2,000 loan to start this company. He started other companies as well, but the one that was up in court was Darktrace, which I'll come to. So Mike Lynch was obviously very intelligent, and from what I could see, he was just from a normal family. Bill Gates is not from a normal family. His dad was working with the Rockefeller Foundation when he was still in his swaddling clothes. So I didn't see any of that come up with Mike Lynch, although he did start a company with members of the intelligence agency, which I'll come to. But like I say, it just seems like he was just a normal guy who was very intelligent and very successful, and maybe wanted to do some good. And some of his neighbours, they had said that he was getting ready to start again after this fraud case he was involved in. So Fast forward to 2004 and he started a company by the name of Darktrace. Like I say, I'm no expert in computers. It's never interested me, computers and artificial intelligence. Really, it just bores me. It's like even economics. It honestly bores me to tears. I read it when I need to. But I read briefly into Darktrace, and he had started Darktrace with members of the intelligence agency. He was involved with members of MI5 and MI6. GCHQ as well, which is the British NSA. And he was involved with members of Mossad also, which is quite alarming, which I'll come to. So when you're involved with these types of people, it can be very, very dangerous. And like I say, I mean, this might be a sort of freak accident. Then again, it might not be. We have to look at the evidence. But when he started Darktrace, what it does is it was like machine learning, but apparently it was this system that it could fight against what's known as zero-day attacks. And a zero-day attack, from what I could see just on Wikipedia, is that it's like a cyber attack that you've got 0 days to prepare for, prepare a patch for rather. But Mike Lynch's company, Darktrace, had claimed to be able to counteract that, where you didn't need any days to prepare any patch. It could actually counteract it. I think that's what it means. But anyway, he sold the company in 2011 to Hewlett-Packard, and from what I can understand, and I'm no lawyer, there was litigation or something, but he'd claimed that, or their lawyers I think had claimed that he'd overinflated the value of the company, and they accused him of fraud. This was in 2011. So that was 13 long years. And he bought this yacht in 2014, the Bazan, I think that's called. Or I think that's how you say it, that is what it's called. I'm not sure how to pronounce it, but it's named after a British mathematician who had gotten a lot of inspiration from. And I mean, 13 years of long court dates and extraditions and all the rest of it. He was extradited, I think, I can't remember, it was the case was at the start of this year. Well, it just finished in April of this year. I can't remember when exactly was it extradited, but don't quote me. I think it might have been Priti Patel that extradited him. I can't remember. But anyway, he was told that he had broken the law. I mean, when you read about it, everything, and this was a law journal I read this in, everything went in Hewlett-Packard's favour. So they were paid up with someone. They must have been, because it didn't sound fair to me. Anyway, he gets extradited to answer for his apparent crimes of overinflating this company that he'd built up with members of the intelligence community. And like I say, it looked like a very, very, a bit of technology that you could do some good with, especially if you could stop cyber attacks. But like I say, 13 years, I mean, 13 years to have a court case like that hanging over you is just, I know what it's like to have one hanging over you for a few months or a year or whatever. And it's the reason I'm not a criminal anymore, because not that I ever really was a big one, like, but I try and live in it because it's horrible. You can't be doing with that stuff. And it must be even worse for people like this, because he maintained his innocence all the way through it. And he was actually told he had a 1 to 2% chance of beating this when he got to America, but beat it he did. So you're a very successful man. You've sold your company. You've done it all by the book, or at least you've thought you've done it by the book. You're told that you're probably going to serve 25 years in jail. He would have got a 25-year sentence. He wouldn't have served 25 years because it's much like here, they can get them out very early. But nonetheless, for a man of Mike Lynch, I don't think he would have enjoyed himself in prison. I mean, who does, like, but it's not a nice place to be. But anyway, he gets extradited. I can't remember what the court case was. But he beat it. He beat it. I mean, a 1 to 2% chance of beating this, and he done that. I mean, that was just unbelievable. An interesting side note, actually, that the company's actually just been bought again by an investment fund by the name of Thomas Bravo for 5.5 billion. That's almost coincided with Mike Lynch's his court case coming to fruition. So I didn't look that much into that. I don't think there was too much to see about it. It's just a kind of investment hedge fund that's bought it. So to track where these funds come from, I'm not sure how important it is. But he did beat it, and like anyone, if he'd had the success of this man, you would take your yacht and you would obviously take all your loved ones, your friends and family, and you would go off the coast of somewhere like Italy and you would just enjoy yourself, which is exactly what he did. I think there was 22 people on the boat, wasn't there? His daughter was one of them, which very tragic that she died. And people have said to me, like, how do you know it wasn't an accident? Well, I don't yet. All we can do is look at the evidence. But it was actually my Uncle Jason that contacted me about this a few weeks ago. I mean, I'd seen what had happened. I'd never heard of the guy before this, like. But when Jason contacted me, I did. This was before I knew anything about it. I said, if he's connected to intelligence services, he's more than likely been killed. Something could have come from beneath him because no one seems to know what it was, what actually happened. So it was actually Jason that kind of gave me the idea to do this video. So like, I'll do it, and because I started researching it. Within minutes, I'd confirmed that he was involved with the intelligence services. So there's more to see there because it's legalised criminality, it's legalised gangsterism, that's what they are, and they get away with it, which is why they're more dangerous. Frankly, I would rather have the mafia sitting in Westminster, because at least you know you're being run by gangsters, you know where you stand with them. Whereas these people, you don't. These guys stand in their nice fancy suits and they speak their word salads, and they pretend that they've got your best interests at heart, when actually it's just all a show, it's a game, and they're playing a game with you, so that they can obviously manipulate perception in much the same way an illusionist does. So that's the problem with that world. And I obviously said to Jason that when I researched it, I'd messaged him straight away, and I said, well, he's connected to these intelligence services, because he's connected to GCHQ, which is or people that were working for them. That's the British NSA. Now people say to me, oh, the British government spy on their citizens, and it's like, well, technically no, because apparently what happens is that it's the NSA that does that, and then they feed the information back to Britain, and then Britain does the same with the Americans and through GCHQ, and they feed it back to them. How true that is, I don't know, but it would certainly make sense to sort of get round the treasonous aspect of it, of selling out your own people. Well, they call us subjects, but I'll say people, because that's what we are. And when you start looking into this, you start thinking, whoa, what's going down here? So it goes on the Bayazan. Now, I'm not sitting here as someone that's a stranger to the dangers of the sea. Far from it. I'm not someone that's been sitting here watching short videos of bad weather either. Far from it. I mean, I spent 7 years on and off fishing vessels, and I've been out in the thick of it. I've felt I've felt firsthand the force of Mother Nature. When I was hit with a 40-foot rogue wave, and I can tell you it was probably the scope. I shouldn't really be sitting here. There's been a couple of times where I've been really, really lucky, and I probably shouldn't be sitting here, but that was definitely one of them. If I hadn't put my fucking leg into an A-frame, then I probably wouldn't have been here. And after the wave hit us, it wiped 2 Romanians off the bloody side of the boat. Well, it was onto the boat, but they were sitting up on the side, and I was at the same place. But where I was sitting, if I hadn't put my leg inside, I would have went that way. And there was that much water and force passing over me, I didn't know if I was on the boat or over the side of it. So when I realised I was still in the boat, drenched in seawater, I naturally had tears of joy. And I've been out in very, very bad weather. In fact, the biggest boat I ever worked on was a 34-metre scallop dredger with a draft of 4 metres, and the draft's what's on the bottom of it. It's obviously what stabilises it. The more draft you've got, the more weather you can take. That's the theory anyway. So, and I've been out in hurricane force winds in that thing, and I mean hurricane force winds, storm force winds, and you don't work in it. You don't fish in it, but you stop and you dodge and you just move up and down until it passes slowly. And you look outside, and it's not pretty. It really isn't. You're like a toy boat in a bath. It's like you're in a big trough of water. All you can see is water, like high up. It's. I mean, you get used to it, but it's unreal the first time you're in it. It's like Jesus Christ. And it's actually got so bad one night that I got sick of looking at it, and I thought, I'm not looking at this anymore. And I went down the stairs into the accommodation, which is right underneath, always, or most of the time. On those boats it is, and you can't feel it. You wouldn't know you were in it. You honestly wouldn't know. You would think it was like a flat, calm day summer's day outside, so you wouldn't know you were in it. So what I'm trying to say is that these boats are bloody built for these things, for water. Sorry, boats are built to withstand water. They're built for it. And then what I done was I started to look into, so I just googled it for the AI overview. What sank this yacht that's sank, and this is what came up. Now, before I done it, I looked at, this is why I done it actually. I looked at some news reports, etc. And it was just reminded me of 9/11, and I'm going to come to that, and I'll come to that soon. How they just put all these different theories out there, and all these different testimonies, and all these different news reports of what happened prior to, during, and after. And all it does is muddy the waters and confuses people to the point where they just say, fuck it, I'm sick of listening to this. This isn't making any sense. What's on Netflix or whatever, or what's to do now? Unless you're sort of persistent, you say, well, no, I'm going to try and get my head around this and try and find out what's going on. So the AI overview is, it says the super yacht Bazan sank off the coast of Sicily in August the 19th, 23 due to a freak weather event that caused it to heel and take on water. I'll come to that. The yacht sank in about 12 minutes, and some theories about what caused the sinking include a water spout. The yacht was initially thought to have been hit by a water spout, which is a rotating column of wind that can form over water. Water spouts are similar to the tornadoes and can be accompanied by high wind, seas, large hail and lightning. Right, so when you actually look at what they're saying, and this was a couple of weeks ago I first looked at this, I listened to marine yachting channels and stuff like that on this, guys that skipper yachts, and there was apparently that your standard sailboats that go around the world, they've got like a vanishing degree of 133 degrees, which means that the boat can vanish at 133 degrees. It's got enough energy to get back up and stabilise. Apparently the Bazan only had a vanishing degrees of 88, so that's 88 degrees over and then back up. But here's where the problem comes in. It has what's known as a retractable keel. And the retractable, this is another thing, they don't know whether that was up or down. So if you're sort of going over at 88 degrees and your retractable keel is up, then your flooding degrees drops from the vanishing degrees is 88 degrees, but then your flooding degrees where it starts taking on water is actually only 44. So if your hatch is up, it's going to start taking on water very, very quickly. Now, the retractable keel is apparently not supposed to be down unless they are 60 miles offshore. However, I looked at some local weather reports, well, not local articles to say that the fishermen had sort of taken, they thought better of it and decided not to go out. So I thought, well, surely the people on this yacht will have seen some sort of shipping report, and surely if they decide to get out in that, they would have taken precautions, which I would imagine would be bloody raising the keel or putting the keel on. So, I mean, or the keel down, sorry. So, I don't know, they've not done that, but it didn't cause, there was no cause to do it because they weren't 60 miles offshore. But here's the bloody problem with this. The boat that actually engaged in the rescue of this yacht was wooden, and it went through the same weather effect, or the same weather event as this boat. And like I say, this 56 metre bloody yacht, or vessel, has got 9 metre of draft on the bottom of it. I've worked on a scallop dredger that only had 4, and I've been out in hurricane force winds. So how can you explain that? And then you look at water spouts, and see, this is the thing, like, water spouts can be created, because there is weather manipulating technology. Go back to the video I did on it and you'll see the documents. There's a Weather Modification Act. I've got it here. Just bear with me a second, sorry, I had it up there the other day there. Right, so this is just on water spouts. So tornadic water spouts generally begin as true tornadoes over land in association with a thunderstorm and then move out over the water. They can be large and are capable of considerable destruction. Fair weather water spouts, on the other hand, from only over open water. They develop at the surface of the water and climb skyward in association with warm water temperatures and high humidity in the lowest several thousand feet of the atmosphere. They are usually small, relatively brief and less dangerous. The fair weather variety of water spout is much more common than a tornadic, and they're actually less of a problem. It doesn't actually say which type it was. Water spouts occur most frequently in northern Michigan during the months of August, September and October. This was in Italy. And when the waters of the Great Lakes are near their warmest levels of the year, so it's like, must be the Euclidean fronts, warm and cold, they come together and they create these things. It must be Water spout freezing typically occurs when cold air moves across the Great Lakes, results in large temperature difference between the warm water and the overriding cold air. Yeah, and then this is Dr. Joseph Golden distinguishes 5 stages of water spout formation, which are a dark spot, a prominent circle, light coloured disc appears on the surface of the water, which is interesting because in Japan, when they had the 2011 tsunami, they call them earthquake lights. They see these lights prior to this disaster happening. So that sounds like heart technology to me, and I've heard insiders say that's exactly what it is. Used to see people saying in Ancient Aliens that it was bloody, it's UFOs manipulating the weather. Of course it is, mate. So spiral pattern, a pattern of light and dark. This is phase 2 of it. Coloured surface band, spiralling. Spray ring is the third, and then there's a mature vortex, and then it decays. And they're relatively, I have seen videos where it's flung catamarans from one part of the harbour to the other, quite violently. But this isn't a catamaran, it's a yacht, a super yacht, 57 metre super yacht with 9 metres draft, that's got more technology than the wooden vessel that rescued it, or rescued the people from it. So you explain that to me. And it just makes you think that, well, that's very, very easy to create. And then you start to look into, like I say, his other activities, which is, not everybody that works in the intelligence services is bad. That has to be established. It's just that they are killers. There's no doubt about that. I don't think anyone would disagree with that. So he beats a court case. He takes his family out on his yacht, and then it sinks. Right, okay, that's all believable. Weather events, these things are real. They can come naturally. They go back centuries, the reports of them. I'll believe that. I wasn't believing it, but you can see why people would believe it, because it's like, well, okay, that's plausible. And then you read about the guy who one of the people that he started Darktrace with, which was a very close friend of his, who magically died in an apparent car accident. Now I looked and I thought, right, okay, so he's beat this case of 13 years that he had 1 to 2% chance of beating. He's involved with intelligence services. He was on a super yacht, which is very unlikely to sink it. He started something called Darktrace with the members of the intelligence services, including Mossad. I don't know if he is involved. He was involved with people with Mossad. And then he beats the court case, or the fraud case that he's accused of, and then him and his pal both die. Mysteriously on the yacht. It is mysterious, because there's many people that built the boat that are coming out and saying, well, there's just absolutely no way. This is unheard of. This does not happen. I've heard guys that have worked on that very vessel before Mike Lynch bought it, and they'd said that it's probably the best yacht that they've ever worked on. So you could believe all that, but then you hear his buddy pal, who he started the company with, was killed in that car accident, but it wasn't actually a car accident. It turns out that he was out running and he was hit with a van. Now this is where that's where it got interesting for me. I thought, all right, okay, so there's smoking gun number 2. And it's just like, the intelligence services, like I say, is legalised criminality. It really is. There's absolutely no two ways about that. It's legalised criminality, and this could easily have been done by them. Now, Mossad are a very sinister organisation, and it's interesting because when it came to 9/11, and 9/11, rest in peace to the people that died there on that false flag operation, they were very much involved in 9/11 Mossad, and they're bloody, do you know what their motto is? Their motto is, by deception thou shalt do war. You look at what's going on in Israel, right? And Mossad, it's so sinister when you look at some of the agents that started it. Prior to that, the terror groups that bombed Israel into existence. There was members of that Mossad, their fathers were in these terror groups, and even had in some cases gone on to become Israeli Prime Minister. So they are very sinister, and it turns out that in 2001, I've mentioned this a couple of times before, but definitely check this out, the dancing Israelis. It was a group of Israelis that were caught on video dancing and celebrating while the World Trade Center burned in the background. And they were arrested and subsequently let go because of who they were. Because Mossad, prior to 9/11, had actually set up a bloody intelligence network to apparently monitor Muslim terrorists. The same Muslim terrorists who were apparently involved, or allegedly involved, in hijacking those planes that day. But here's the funny thing about it. How the hell did they know? If they were monitoring those people, right, and they were worth their salt, they would have known that something was not right, so why was it not stopped? And why were they dancing as the trade centre burnt? At the same airports is where the cocaine was being sold by the CIA, and this Mohammed Atta, who was the guy who was supposed to be the ringleader of the hijackers, he was an asset of them. And this Mossad ring, who were posing as art students, and they were for all backgrounds in Israel. They were challenged to come across here, and they were befriending CIA agents and DE agents and trying to get into them. Even the CIA had put out a warning to their employees to watch out for these people. And then the information on them was then done away with in the CIA, which they were told that it was not unheard of that would happen. It was normal practice. It was the same. It was done the same. The news reports on it that they were lost as well. So, and this is what I'm saying. They were apparently looking at Muslim terrorists, yet they were involved in a drug running operation with the CIA. And don't forget, the CIA, they put crack cocaine into America in the 80s. Like, they were involved in Iran-Contra as well, which was a drug smuggling operation. So these people are the Bushes, and Bush at the time, he was bloody president at the time. He hadn't been sworn in yet, or he'd just been sworn in actually. And his brother was the governor of Florida at the time that this was happening. It's all connected. Now Mossad, they had, or Israel, which is where this new artificial intelligent world that they want, the Internet of Things, everybody microchip, it's going to be governed, the central point is in Israel. Israel sold the backdoor computer the computer software to the Americans, which had a back door in it that they could enter through to get control of the American system, which is exactly what they did. That's how they got control of the planes. Because when you're flying through no-fly zones the way they were, and I've listened to pilots of 30 and 35 and 40 year experience with this, or it was 30 years experience he had, and he'd said, look, there's just no way I could do that. I couldn't do that. I could not do what that plane's doing there. That's been done by remote control, and the remote control, it was done through the backdoor system that I'd mentioned that Mossad could then get into. And this is another thing as well. There's a no-fly zone there. As soon as you're flying there with a plane, like, you're done. You've got seconds in case there's a malfunction to punch in a code. If you don't do that, you're shot out the sky. That didn't happen that day. There was loads of other things with NORAD and stuff like that didn't happen that day. When they're suspected hijackers, they get planes straight up there instantly, within seconds. The only day it didn't happen was 9/11. That's beside the point just now. But understand that Mossad are very much involved in this AI bloody agenda. Like, I mean, look what they're doing to their citizens by vaccinating them. They've had more vaccinations than anyone, and I said this to my mum the other day. That vaccination, what it must be like they're putting this gene manipulating technology into our body, which is changing your genetics, or the nature of your genetics, so that they'll then become compatible with likes of 5, 6 and 7G, because there's no way you could survive it without that type of thing. It's almost like setting a Bluetooth system into you so that you can then connect with it, which is very, very sinister. And these are the people that, again, I can't, because there's so much stuff about what's going on with the sinking, I can't verify exactly who he was involved with. But are you trying to tell me an organisation like MI5 and MI6 are just as bad? It's usually one operation, the intelligence service, even though they all spy on each other. Israel's been accused of spying on America for long enough, and they still do it. But are you trying to tell me that those people who'd done that heinous crime on 9/11 or contributed to it and laughing about it and given the backdoor computer system so they could go in and do it? And when you think about it as well, I mean, they crashed 2 planes into, I mean, I said this to my papa actually just quickly one day. I said, do you know how many buildings came down on the day of 9/11? And he said 2, and I said, no, it wasn't, it was 3. It was building 7 as well. And he looked at me like I was mad. And building 7, may I add, wasn't hit with a plane, it was an office fire. And actually, I've seen the video with the BBC reporter standing while the building's still standing in our fucking background, saying building 7 has collapsed, and it was just the timeline had gotten screwed up a little bit, and while she's saying it, it's still standing there. I mean, it's literally still standing there. It's some bloody coincidence that half an hour later it fucking fell. I mean, that's amazing. Imagine going in and tell your husband or your wife or whatever and saying, well, it's amazing today, sweetheart, I was reporting in front of this building that I'd mistakenly said it fell down. It was just a wee mistake, but then half an hour later it fell. I mean, that's so unlikely, it borders on almost madness to believe it. And it's the first time in history that an office fire is brought... In fact, it's the first time in history that any fire has brought buildings down, because jet fuel doesn't burn steel beams. Steel beams melt. I think it's something like... I can't remember the numbers between it, but jet fuel doesn't get to that kind of heat to melt the steel that was used. And I've listened to guys who helped design these trade centres things, and they said they were terror-proofed. They were terror-proofed for that. That's why they use thermite to cut the steel, because it has been found. It was found in the rubble that was guarded by Rudy Giuliani and some company that was involved in Afghanistan that was connected to Osama bin Laden, who was supposed to be the guy that done it. His family were being bloody flown out of America on the day it happened. Not to mention other people for Israel when there was a no-fly order for everyone. It's just so dark, it's unbelievable. This is the world of the intelligence services that by deception thou shalt do war. And Mike Lynch probably had no idea. Or maybe he did. I mean, he wasn't stupid. He wasn't stupid, like, and he obviously felt very comfortable. And this could obviously, when people say, well, this is why it could be an accident. It could just be a freak weather event. But freak weather events, what they're calling weather phenomena, I mean, these happen mostly over the Gulf Stream and the jet stream and places like that, which is where this weather technology is bloody... It's steering the jet stream that manipulates the weather. This is what drives it. Any weather meteorologist will tell you that the fluctuating weather patterns has to do with the jet stream. So, and these waterspouts, that's what I thought it was that done it, but now there's many other things. That's what I thought that it but now they came up with the downburst. However, I thought it's later said that a downburst was more likely to be the cause. So what is it? Global warming's the third. Some climate experts believe that global warming may have contributed to the storm, as the sea surface temperature around Sicily was almost 3 degrees higher than normal in the days before the sinking. Open doors. An expert believes that the yacht may have filled with water because the doors were left open. That's what I was going to say before. Safety at sea is bloody paramount, and I have to believe that those people would have been briefed on what to do. They had to have known what that was for. They had to have known. And again, if you were bloody... I mean, maybe I'm wrong about this, but if you were expecting weather situations like that, surely you would take precautions. But I've seen the video. It didn't look that bad for it to be sinking a boat for 56 metres and 9 metres of draft. And they're saying that there's not even any water in the victim's lungs, so it's suffocation, carbon dioxide. Chain length, I've never seen this one. An insufficient chain length may also have played a role. I don't even know what that means. I don't even know what that means. So this is what they do. This is why I'm sort of combining it with 9/11, conflating the two, because they muddy the waters by sending all this shite out there, like, and it just doesn't make any bloody sense. And then, like I say, I mean, this is the smoking gun that everybody's noticed, that it was it's his partner dying's what set people off. I mean, read any comment section on any video about it and you'll see at least 10 comments with that on it saying it's funny that his partner's died. And it's equivalent to you catching your girlfriend cheating, and she tells you that she's tripped and fell and landed on his winky, and you buying it. But that's what we do every day, though, isn't it? When these conspiracies, like Peter Blakesley likes to call it, that tool on Talk TV. I mean, he's an ex-detective, and some of the things he says is quite funny. But on this, the conspiracy theorists will be jumping for joy. Well, no, actually, Pete, we're not jumping for joy, mate. We're quite sad, actually, because a lot of people have lost their life here needlessly, and there seems to be criminality at play. But maybe if you spent more time concentrating on the real research and looking into the background of this stuff, then you are chasing round criminals round Spain, where the evidence points to that he's probably dead. I'm sorry, mate, but you're an idiot. You are like, you sit on there and conspiracy theorist. Well, what does it mean first? You tell me what it means. Because until I know you know what it means, then I'm sorry, I'm not taking you seriously. But this is what the media does, and they're still doing it despite everything that's happened. So, I mean, are we going to keep doing that? Are we going to keep... Well, I'll buy that. As stupid as that is, he's just beat a court case. His pal's dead. He's involved in all right. Okay, there's a few things that are bothering me here. There's a couple of red flags, but to save me from thinking about it or even dealing with it, I'll buy that. I'll believe he tripped and fell on his anatomy. Sorry. That's what I'll believe. And we do it, and we go on like nothing happened. But this is the thing, I don't know what's happened here. I can only go by my own experience at sea and the boats I've been on and the boat that he was on. And I can remember one time I was in Douglas in the Isle of Man, and it was a good experience. It was cool. It was an amazing experience. Not in the Isle of Man, I don't like it, but there was one day we were in there, or one morning we were in there, and it was Roman Abramovich's yacht. The cake tin was in another part of the harbour, and I remember me and my friend, we were heading out at 4 o'clock in the morning on this bloody rust bucket, also known as the Black Pearl. We covered in oil, and we were looking at this bloody yacht, which was I don't know if it's a yacht, but it's some bit of kit. It really is. It's called the cake tin because that's what it looks like. And we were just looking at this, and it was so close. It was right there, but yet so far away. And we felt it. We looked at each other, but we're far away from that, aren't we? But this is what Mike Lynch has went out on. He's went out on a vessel like this. And we were on that bloody rust bucket, and we still came back. And I'm sorry, but it just doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. It'd be different if they came out and said, look, bang, 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 this is what's happened. That's what went wrong. There was the human error. Human errors, human fingerprints. Right, okay. Shipping experts, fishermen, yachters alike can look at that and say, I'll accept that. But there's far too much muddy into the waters here. Global warming, that Jim Dale, I've mentioned him before, he looks like a poor man's Liam Neeson. Or a Liam Neeson that's had too much whiskey, that's what he looks like. And he's saying it's definitely global warming. And what is global warming? Global warming and weather manipulating technology go hand in hand, because they're using that technology to get you to believe in global warming so that you'll agree to the green agenda and the electric agenda and the giving up of all your bloody rights and freedoms and food and clothes to save the planet from something that's not happening. But Jim Dale, in his ignorance, will have no idea that that's right, because they just shout conspiracy theory. Well, you can call this a conspiracy if you like, but lots of people are questioning the fact that this man was killed along with his friend. And I'm questioning it as well, and so should you be. I am of the opinion that this man has been killed, because at the end of the day, we don't know why. It may just be that he's beat the case when he was almost certainly going to go to jail. But we know from watching gangster films, or the ones that we have watched, that when the gangster doesn't win and gets probably humiliated, then they're taking revenge. And they send one of their button men out there, and they take that revenge and they end it. And it's interesting, actually, just when the other day there, it reminded me of Robert Maxwell, Ghislaine Maxwell's dad. He was killed on a yacht by Mossad Secret Service. And that's a mystery as well. So that's a good note to finish on. So they've done it before. And if we don't get ourselves together, we'll do it again. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you on the next one.